Hi everybody and welcome to the channel. So in the world of electrical generation there is in fact a new kid on the block, and it was unveiled at COP28. It's by a Korean company called the SEMP Group, and the device is named the AISEG, and it makes some pretty bold claims. Like using no fuel to operate, being 1769% efficient. It's supposed to be based on a brand new theory of how electricity is generated called the theory of bandwagoning. It's supposed to be based on the foundation of 4 fundamental laws that are already known about, and 11 additional laws that SEMP have come up with. This has been bound together into an AI control system to create the AISEG. Okay, sounds great! Easy to make, cheap to run, uses no fuel, is 17,000% efficient, and it's based on brand new laws nobody knew about before. What's not to like? But how does it actually work? And could it possibly work? Well, to work that one out, a friend of mine, Daniel Lazenby, sent me a translated Korean patent, and of course I have all the advertising materials they've produced that we can look through to get some idea of how this thing is supposed to work. Now, this is supposed to be the first time that this has ever been done, and also the first time that it's been patented. Actually, when you look a bit deeper, it's not. It looks surprisingly like Tom Bearden's motionless electrical generator that was patented in 2001. The main difference being, as far as I can see, that Bearden used a permanent magnet and this doesn't. But the parallels actually extend quite far. Both devices claim the use of previously unknown physical laws. Both devices use rapid and controlled pulses to generate their extra energy, and both devices use the interplay of coils and the interaction between them. I would say the difference was that Bearden used permanent magnets in his setup and so claimed flux switching. This device appears to be based on the back EMF. Back EMF is a phenomenon in electromagnetic induction where an EMF which is seen as a voltage opposes a change in current which induced it. Normally it's seen as a pain in the neck, but several devices have attempted to capture the back EMF and make good use of it, because very often it can be an extremely high voltage spike. And here we're thinking about Panacea Bocaf's rotaverter and the Bedini SSG and a whole host of other inventions. To be honest, taking away the magnets makes it look like, well, a normal transformer, or maybe a magnetic amplifier, would be a better description of how it operates. But it's certainly not unknown, and it doesn't need 11 new laws to explain its operation or its construction. So I guess, in essence, that's what I think it is, a lossy transformer based on the work of Tom Bearden, and the hope that if you pulse it quick enough you'll get some weird effect that will generate the extra energy. So do I think it works? Well, that's going to be one of those you pays your money and makes your choice kind of questions. If you look at the MEG, there's thousands of people who say it doesn't work and thousands of people who say it does. It's an endless argument. But personally, I sincerely doubt it works, and my doubt doesn't arise so much from the operation of the machine, because I haven't built it and don't know if it works or not. It's based on a series of very large red flags in what this company is saying about the machine. Let's have a look at some of the very simple things. They start off by saying it's 17,000% more efficient, and to be honest, that's just ludicrous. They'd have been much better if they said 10%, 20% more efficient, because in generation terms that translates into millions of dollars and people would be very interested in it. It doesn't need to be so stupidly efficient. So that claim of huge efficiency makes you think, well, they've measured something wrong. Of course, they explain it by having discovered 11 new laws. And that is equally a bizarre thing to say, and just betrays the fact that they don't really understand what a scientific law is. And that's okay, because lots of people don't really understand what a scientific law is. Most people think of a scientific law in the way that they think of something like a speeding law. You can break it. You can travel 40 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone, get home a bit earlier, feel a bit guilty about having done it, but you can bend or break a human-made law. That's not the way it is with a scientific law. A scientific law isn't something that governs the behaviour, it's something that describes the behaviour. It's something where tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people have looked at, analysed and codified over centuries and written it down to say that's how a system behaves. So a scientific law doesn't govern the behaviour of a system, it describes the behaviour of a system at its fundamental root. So what they're claiming is that they've found 11 things that people have hitherto never seen that is fundamental to the behaviour of electrics. That is extremely unlikely when you consider that the geniuses of the field of electricity probably discovered 2 or 3 in a lifetime. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, I'm saying that it's extremely unlikely that it happened. But if you understand a scientific law in the same way as you understand a man-made law, well, why not write 11 new ones, stick it into an AI, and then say, hey, the AI is controlling it in accordance with these new laws? Makes a sort of sense, I guess. And then there's all the buzzwords around it. They began by calling this the smart generator, and they called it the smart generator when smart was the buzzword. Now, of course, AI is the thing that's doing the round, and AI is the buzzword, and so their generator has been renamed the AI Smart Generator. So it's that use of buzzwords that always bothers me and always acts as a red flag. Then there's that appeal to our concerns. It's cheap, it lasts forever, it's non-polluting, it generates all the power we're ever going to need so we can live in Shangri-La. And we really just don't need to do anything. It's the single pill for all ills. Add those together and you should be suspicious of what it is that they're doing. But let's have a look at their test. This is what they put out on the internet in the early days of them doing a demonstration test that more comes out than goes in. When you look at this test, it's very convincing. It's nicely set up, there's a resistive load on it, you get some very clear figures, and they do a couple of calculations for you to show that the in and the out are very different indeed. It's only when you look a little deeper at it that you realise there's an issue or two with this. When we look at the DC side, then they take the volts and the amps and multiply it by a power correction factor of the amount of time that the DC is on, and that's fair enough if it's only on 10% of the time, only 10% of the power is being used. However, when it comes to the AC side, there is no power correction factor used in the calculation. And that leads to the inescapable conclusion that the output is greater than the input. Unfortunately for AC, the situation is much more complicated, and what we're seeing on the meters is the apparent power, which is the product of the root mean square values of the voltage and the current. But the apparent power is also the modulus of the complex power, and the complex power is the resultant of the active power and the reactive power. None of this is particularly important. All that you really need to get hold of is that the apparent power and the real power are very different, and they're corrected for by using the power factor. The power factor is the ratio of the real power to the apparent power, and without a power factor, those readings on the meters are actually relatively meaningless. And this is where the frequency comes in. Because at 100 Hz, using light bulbs isn't going to help. We can't see the flicker in a light if it's more than 24 times a second, and 100 Hz is 100 times a second. But we can get the real power by taking the integral of the current at a particular time and the voltage at a particular time with respect to time and dividing it by the period of the frequency. So what does all this mean? Well, those figures and calculations shown on the output could quite easily be out by a factor of anywhere between 100 and 1,000. Anyway, there's a few of my brief thoughts on this wonderful new machine. Clearly I'm not really in support of it. It wouldn't be something that I would pursue much, and certainly not something I would invest in. There's far too many red flags for that. But I thought I would share a few of my ideas with you because, well, basically I was asked to, and I do appreciate that people think different things and have different opinions, and of course, everybody is welcome to their own opinion. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and please do remember to like and subscribe.